The Galactic Empire believed itself unstoppable. Its fleets had conquered dozens of star systems, crushed rebellions, and made entire worlds bend to its will. So when intelligence reported a human colony on the outer edge of its territory, the council in the imperial capital hardly paid attention. Humans were seen as primitive, unpredictable, and small in number. The Empire assumed that a few ships would be enough to take control. Yet, in the dark corridors of the human fleet, there was no fear. Only calm preparation. Commander J stood on the bridge of the lead human ship. His eyes scanned the readouts carefully. The ship was not large, nor was it the most advanced in technology, but it was well maintained, and every crew member knew their job perfectly. He breathed slowly, knowing that the Empire would strike first and expect an easy victory. "Hana, what is their fleet movement?" he asked, his voice steady. Hana, the human strategist, looked up from her terminal. Her long fingers tapped the screen, tracing paths and calculations. "They have a larger fleet, but their ships are spread thin. They are confident. We will need to stay hidden and wait for the right moment. They will make the first mistake." She did not say it with arrogance, only with certainty born of experience. Humans were often underestimated because they fought differently than other species. They did not rely only on numbers or raw firepower. They used creativity, speed, and understanding of their enemy's mind. Outside the ship, the Empire's scouts appeared like silver stars in the distance. Their formation was tight and perfect, and their size was intimidating. To any observer, the human fleet looked tiny and vulnerable. The Empire's commanders exchanged words over their comms, smiling at the thought of a quick victory. One of them, a young officer with a sharp jaw and cold eyes, said, "This will be over in hours. Prepare the attack plan. Show them the strength of the Empire." Back on the human command ship, Mira, a skilled pilot, prepared her squad for patrol. She looked around at her team, all young but trained for this moment. "Remember," she said, "stay calm, protect each other, and trust your training. We are not the largest, but we are human. That is enough." Her voice carried a quiet strength. Each pilot nodded, feeling the weight of the mission, but trusting their abilities. They were ready. As the Empire launched the first strike, humans did not panic. The initial attack hit a small mining station near the colony. Explosions rippled across the surface, sending plumes of dust and debris into space. Human sensors picked up every movement, every missile, and every approach vector. Hana calculated trajectories and suggested adjustments. Jay made decisions calmly, coordinating defenses with precision. "Deploy the decoys," he instructed. "Let them think they have the advantage." The fleet moved with a rhythm that was almost like a dance. Each ship knew its position and purpose. The first exchange surprised the Empire. Their missiles and plasma beams hit empty space. Human ships had moved, changed positions, and used the small planet and asteroid belts to their advantage. Some Empire ships were forced to adjust rapidly, some collided, and some had to retreat to avoid destruction. The Empire's officers could not believe their sensors. They had underestimated human intelligence and strategy. The humans were not fighting recklessly. They were controlling the battlefield with precision and care. Myra led a squadron through a narrow asteroid field to flank the Imperial ships. She moved with skill, her ship weaving between rocks and firing with accuracy. Several enemy ships were disabled, their engines crippled, and some lost communication. Each time an Imperial ship fired, it missed by a fraction. Each human ship retaliated, but always protected others, even their wounded allies. It was a strange sight for the Empire. They were used to enemies who either fled or fought to the death for survival. Humans seemed to fight for each other, not just for themselves. Back on the bridge of the command ship, Jay watched as Imperial ships fell back. They expected a quick win, he said softly. Now they realize they miscalculated. Hannah nodded, her fingers flying across the controls. We need to keep pressure, but not destroy them yet. Let them see what humanity can do when they think victory is assured. This is only the beginning. The human colony below sent up transport ships carrying civilians to safety. Mira and her pilots created a shield around them, taking calculated risks to ensure no one was harmed. The humans were efficient but compassionate. They did not strike indiscriminately. They did not use their advantage to terrorize. Every move had purpose. Every sacrifice counted. The Empire had expected panic and surrender. Instead, they faced resolve and intelligence. Hours passed, and the battle slowly ended. The Empire had some of its ships damaged and several retreating. Humans had suffered losses too, but each had been chosen and managed carefully. On the command ship, Jay finally allowed himself a deep breath. We held the line, he said. Hannah smiled faintly. Yes, but the Empire will come back with more. This is only a test. They will not stop here. The Empire's commanders were furious. They could not understand how a small, seemingly weak fleet had caused so much damage. Their sensors and reports confirmed that the humans had only used a fraction of their fleet. The Empire began to fear, not just respect. The humans fought not out of hatred or ambition, but out of intelligence, strategy, and care for each other. That combination was unpredictable and terrifying to the Imperial mind. As night fell over the colony planet, humans repaired their ships and tended to the wounded. Mira sat in the hangar, quietly checking systems and making notes. She thought of the civilians they had saved and the pilots who would never return home. Even in victory, there was solemnity. They celebrated quietly, knowing that this was just the first step. Jay walked past her, placing a hand on her shoulder. We did well today, but the Empire will not forget this. We must be ready for what comes next. Myra nodded. We always are. Humanity never gives up. Above them, the stars shone as if nothing had happened. But in the minds of the Empire's commanders, fear had already taken root. A small human fleet had challenged them and survived. The question now burned in their minds. If this was only a fraction, what did humanity really possess? The answer remained unseen, but it was enough to change the way the galaxy viewed these people. Calm, clever, and unyielding, humans had shown that even against an unstoppable force, they could stand, survive, and perhaps win. The Galactic Empire could not stop thinking about the human fleet. In their war rooms, commanders argued, shouted, and pointed at holomaps. Every sensor report, every estimate, confirmed the same truth. The humans had fought with skill, bravery, and careful planning. They had not attacked blindly or with reckless anger. Each move was deliberate, each action protective. Imperial officers had never seen an enemy behave like this. Admiral Sol, a veteran of countless battles, slammed his fist on the table. How could a fleet this small cause so much damage? He glared at his officers. Are we truly facing the entire human army? None of them had an answer. They studied the human signals intercepted during the battle. Most of the messages were calm discussions about positioning, repairs, and civilian safety. There was no talk of vengeance, conquest, or fear. The humans had planned everything, yet had not used their full power. That thought made the Empire uneasy. What if there was more? How strong could they be when fully committed? On the human side, Commander Jay met with his senior officers. Hannah, Myra, and Day gathered around the table, their expressions focused. The Empire will come back, Jay said, his voice quiet but firm. They will not forget today. We must prepare. Hannah nodded. We must stay ready, but we do not seek war. Our goal is to protect our people and our systems. If they attack, we will respond. If they stop, we remain vigilant. Their calmness was unnerving to outsiders. Humans did not panic under pressure. They acted logically and carefully. Myra spent hours checking every ship in her squadron. Her fingers moved quickly, inspecting engines, weapons, and shields. Every pilot followed her example. Even the youngest cadets learned to maintain focus, to understand that every detail could mean the difference between life and death. They oversaw training exercises, simulating attacks by larger fleets. Humans fought not only with courage, but with intelligence, using their environment and each other's strengths to maximize effectiveness. The Empire had never faced an enemy that coordinated so well without relying on pure numbers. The first major, Imperial response, came days later. A detachment of battle cruisers arrived at the human systems, far larger than the fleet they had originally faced. The Empire expected the humans to retreat, surrender, or be crushed. They were wrong. Jay observed the incoming ships with calm eyes. "This is exactly what we predicted," he said. "We know their formation, and we know their approach vectors. Prepare for engagement." Hannah spread out a map of the system. "We cannot meet them directly with all forces. We will use the terrain, the asteroid belts, and planetary orbits. They think they have numerical advantage, but we will turn it into a trap." Myra and other pilots prepared their ships. Their training paid off as they moved silently through the asteroid fields, setting positions and waiting for the Imperial fleet to come closer. The battle began. Imperial ships fired first, expecting easy targets. Human pilots dodged and countered, striking with precision. Ships disabled enemy systems without destroying them completely. Some Imperial crews panicked, unable to comprehend how a smaller force could move with such coordination. Humans protected their allies, even when it meant putting themselves in danger. Mira led a small squadron to cover civilian transports, risking attacks to shield the vulnerable. Her bravery inspired others, and they followed without hesitation. Imperial commanders grew frustrated. Every time they gained ground, humans reorganized and moved with calculated efficiency. Jay gave clear instructions, and humans adapted to every situation. The Empire had expected chaos, but humans thrived in controlled danger. Soldiers who had faced countless enemies reported confusion. These humans did not behave like conquerors. They fought to survive, to protect, and to outsmart the enemy. After hours of engagement, the battle reached a critical point. Imperial ships were damaged, engines crippled, and communications disrupted. The humans were not celebrating victory. They focused on recovery, on regrouping, and on securing the safety of the planet below. Jay met with his officers. "We have held them," he said, "but we cannot relax. The Empire will return, bigger and stronger. We must be ready always." Hana added, "They cannot comprehend our strength because we do not seek destruction. That is our advantage." The Empire retreated, but fear had taken root. Admiral Sol watched the retreating humans on the holomap, his face pale. "If this is only a small fleet, then what are we truly facing?" He whispered to himself. His officers exchanged uneasy glances. They had always believed that power and numbers were enough. Humanity had proven that intelligence, strategy, and the will to protect could rival the largest fleets in the galaxy. Meanwhile, humans repaired their ships and tended to the wounded. Guy organized medical teams and repair crews. Mira helped train cadets on rapid response strategies. Hannah calculated potential Imperial movements, creating contingency plans for every possible attack. Jay stood quietly, observing the crew. His faith in his people remained strong. Humanity was not the strongest by size, but by spirit, courage, and understanding. The Empire began sending spies and intercepting human communications. But humans used misdirection and false signals. The Empire received contradictory reports, sometimes indicating small, weak forces, other times suggesting larger fleets hidden in distant systems. Humans did not need to fight to show strength. Their organization and strategy alone created doubt, fear, and respect. As night fell over the colony planet, humans gathered briefly. Some shared quiet conversations, others sat alone, reflecting on the day. Myra stood by the hangar, looking at the repaired ships. "They will not stop," she said softly. Day nodded, watching young cadets learn quickly from the battle. "No, they won't, but we will always be ready." Jay walked among his people, placing hands on shoulders, offering quiet encouragement. "The Empire may think we are small," he said, "but humanity has strength they do not understand. Every time they attack, we survive, we adapt, and we grow stronger. They will learn, eventually, that humans are not to be underestimated." The Empire, on the other hand, prepared larger fleets and more powerful weapons, but fear lingered. For the first time, they questioned their assumptions. The humans they had encountered were only a fraction, and yet they had held their ground. The question spread through every command hall. If this is only part of their strength, what else do humans have? The answer remained a mystery, but the thought alone was enough to change the galaxy's perception of humanity. They had seen courage, strategy, and loyalty combined in ways no other species could match, and it terrified them that, in the quiet of space, the human fleet maintained vigilance. Even in temporary calm, training continued, plans were updated, and preparations made. They were not arrogant, they were not seeking glory. They sought survival, protection of their people, and readiness for what was to come. The galaxy had not yet seen the full human potential, but the Empire had begun to understand that humans were not merely a people, they were a force unlike any other, patient, clever, and unyielding when pushed to their limits. The Galactic Empire struggled to comprehend what had happened. Their armadas were powerful, experienced, and confident. Yet the humans had resisted with calm precision and strategy. Every new report reinforced a single disturbing fact. The fleet they had faced before was not the full human army. Only a small part had been involved in the battle, yet it had caused massive disruption. Imperial intelligence officers were in a frenzy, trying to predict what humans could do if fully mobilized on a distant human world. Commander J met with senior officers to discuss the Empire's likely next moves. Hannah, Myra, and Day sat around a wide table, each absorbed in data and calculations. "They are planning something larger," Jay said quietly. "We need to be ready, but we must not panic. Panic will lead to mistakes. We fight smart, not just hard." Hannah nodded, her eyes scanning the charts. "We have observed their patterns. They believe size equals victory. That is their mistake. We can use that to our advantage." Myra leaned forward. "What if they send an even larger fleet? We can't fight them all directly." Jay considered this carefully. "We do not need to destroy them all. We need to protect our people, delay their advance, and show strength in strategic ways. Even a small human fleet can create fear if used correctly." Humans had a different approach to war than the Empire expected. They valued precision, protection, and intelligence over brute force. Every decision considered consequences for civilians and allies. This method made them unpredictable and formidable. Meanwhile, the Empire prepared a massive armada to strike the humans once and for all. Admiral Sol supervised the fleet personally. His ships moved in formation, weapons ready, engines humming with power. Imperial officers believed that overwhelming numbers would crush any resistance. They underestimated the humans again. Reports indicated small, coordinated strikes by human forces in border systems. Even the smallest human units moved with a discipline that confused Imperial strategists. As the Empire moved closer, human scouts detected their approach. They monitored the sensors with a calm focus. "They are coming," he said. "We must be ready, but do not let fear guide our actions. Remember, every move counts." Jay approved the deployment of ships to key positions near asteroid belts, moons, and orbital stations. Humans were not trying to confront the Empire directly. They were preparing to use the environment and careful coordination to maximize their effectiveness. When the Imperial fleet entered human space, initial skirmishes occurred near uninhabited systems. The humans responded with small, precise attacks. Imperial ships were damaged and forced to retreat in confusion. Mira led a squadron to protect a convoy of civilian transports. Her movements were swift and calculated. She coordinated with other pilots, each maneuver synchronized with the others. The Empire could not predict their movements. Every step, every strike seemed deliberate, yet impossible to anticipate. Jay directed the defense from the command ship. "Focus on protection, then precision strikes," he instructed. "Do not waste firepower on unnecessary targets. Our goal is survival and intelligence, not destruction." Hana calculated multiple potential attack patterns and countered Imperial moves with exacting accuracy. Even small human ships could disable larger enemy vessels using knowledge, speed, and coordination. Imperial commanders were stunned. They had never seen an enemy use caution and intelligence to such deadly effect. As the day wore on, reports of human defensive strength reached the Empire. They discovered that multiple human fleets were in hidden positions. Systems thought to be weak had strong defenses. Supply routes, previously believed unprotected, were monitored and secured. The Empire realized the humans had been hiding their full power, observing and learning before fully engaging. Admiral Saul's confidence faltered. For the first time, he wondered if overwhelming numbers would be enough. Back on the human planet, Jay held a briefing with officers. "We cannot underestimate them," he said. "They believe fear comes from size. We will show them that human intelligence and coordination create a force greater than numbers alone." Myra and Day nodded. Every officer understood that humans relied on strategy and adaptability. They did not seek destruction for its own sake. Their victories were carefully calculated and aimed at survival and protection. The Imperial fleet advanced further into human systems, only to face coordinated resistance at every step. Ships from different human fleets appeared from hidden orbits, asteroid belts, and jump points. The Empire tried to respond with force, but the humans had anticipated many moves. Systems designed for quick evacuation protected civilians. Supply routes allowed human fleets to regroup and counterattack. Mira's squadron intercepted enemy ships while minimizing damage. Imperial officers grew frustrated. Even as they inflicted damage on human forces, every human loss was measured, calculated, and replaced with an effective response. Jay had ensured that no action was wasted and no civilian or ally left unprotected. Hana's tactical brilliance ensured humans stayed ahead, even when outnumbered. The Empire began to realize that humans were not merely fighting. They were teaching a lesson in strategy, patience, and foresight. As night fell over human-controlled systems, humans repaired and prepared for the next encounter. They trained new pilots, analyzed the day's engagements, and refined their tactics. Jay walked among the crews, offering quiet guidance. "We will not be reckless," he said. "We will be ready for what comes next, but we do not need to show all our strength. They do not yet know how far we can go." The Empire, meanwhile, began to fear not only the human skill, but also the unknown scope of their capabilities. Reports suggested that humans were spread across many systems, each ready to act with coordination. The thought that the small fleets already encountered were only a fraction of the human force disturbed every Imperial officer. Admiral Sol considered retreating, but pride and obligation prevented him. The Empire could not afford to admit fear openly. Yet internally, questions haunted the command halls. If this is only a fraction, what does humanity truly have? How much strength were they hiding? Humans continued their calm, methodical work. Mira led patrols at dawn. Day supervised training, and Hana refined strategies for multiple contingencies. Every officer and crew member understood the importance of preparation and coordination. They knew that the Empire's fear was growing, and that fear itself was a weapon. Humans had survived, adapted, and proved that courage and intelligence could match or surpass raw power in private moments. Jay reflected on their victories. "We do not need to conquer," he said softly. "We only need to survive, protect our people, and respond with intelligence. That alone will make others respect humanity. Fear is not something we seek, but it will follow naturally when they see what we are capable of." Mira, listening nearby, nodded. "We are not reckless, and we are not cruel. But we are strong, and we will not be bullied. That is enough to change everything." The Empire's armada continued its cautious advance, uncertain of the humans' full power. Human resistance, though measured and limited, had demonstrated abilities and strategy beyond expectation. Imperial officers could not shake the fear that humanity was not a force to be crushed lightly. As humans repaired, trained, and prepared for the future, the galaxy began to notice a different kind of power emerging: intelligence, courage, and loyalty combined in ways no other species had shown. The humans' calm, controlled response to overwhelming force left an impression that would not be forgotten, shaping the galaxy's understanding of human potential and the threat it posed. Humanity had not yet revealed its full strength. What the Empire faced was only a glimpse, and that glimpse was enough to shake the confidence of one of the greatest powers in the galaxy. The Imperial Armada moved into human space with confidence, believing that overwhelming numbers would ensure victory. Admiral Sol personally oversaw the fleet, convinced that humans could not possibly withstand their might. However, as the ships approached human systems, strange signals and unusual resistance began to appear. It started with small skirmishes, Imperial ships encountering unexpected human patrols, ambushes, and defensive formations that seemed too precise for such a small population. "Commander," Jay observed the incoming fleet from the command bridge. His face remained calm, his eyes focused on the readouts. "They think they know us," he said to Hana and Day, who stood nearby. "But they have only seen the surface. We will show them that humans fight differently than they expect." Hana nodded, tracing the Imperial formation on her console. "We have predicted their approach paths. Our forces are ready at every junction. They will meet resistance, but not the full strength. We will save that for later if needed." Mira prepared her squadron, ready to cover transports and protect civilians. Each pilot knew the plan, their movements choreographed with precision as the first wave of Imperial ships entered the system. Human defenses activated simultaneously across multiple points. Small fleets emerged from hidden orbits, asteroid fields, and planetary shadows. Each human ship moved with precision, disabling enemy weapons, targeting engines, and protecting critical infrastructure. The Empire's commanders were taken aback. Every move seemed anticipated, every strategy countered with intelligence and speed. The humans were not only defending, they were teaching the Empire that numbers alone were meaningless without strategy. Mira led a squadron to intercept a group of Imperial bombers targeting civilian colonies. She maneuvered her ship with grace, weaving through asteroid belts while firing precise shots to disable engines without causing complete destruction. Each enemy ship that approached the convoys was met with coordinated defense. Human pilots protected each other, and the civilians with the discipline and courage that shook the Imperial officers. Confidence.J coordinated the larger human forces. Do not waste unnecessary firepower, he instructed. Every move must protect lives and create advantage. We are not here to destroy without purpose. Hana's calculations guided the fleet through asteroid fields, narrow spaces, and planetary orbits. Dai monitored communications and logistics, ensuring that reinforcements arrived exactly when needed. Even the smallest human units worked together as if they were one organism, anticipating enemy movements and adapting immediately to changes in the battlefield. Imperial ships tried to break through, using their larger size and superior firepower. But human defenses proved elusive. Ships appeared from unexpected angles, disabled Imperial engines, and forced retreats. Every time an Imperial vessel thought it had the upper hand, humans revealed another tactic, another position, another hidden squadron. Admiral Sol could not understand how such a small force could coordinate so effectively. He realized that the humans they had faced before had only been the beginning. Their real power lay in preparation, intelligence, and discipline. The battle raged across multiple systems. Humans moved in waves, striking, retreating, and regrouping with unmatched efficiency. They did not seek unnecessary destruction, yet every Imperial move was countered and contained. Civilian transports were protected at all costs. Mira's squadron continued to shield key convoys, often putting themselves in harm's way to save others. Every human sacrifice was intentional, every action calculated to minimize loss while maximizing effect. As night fell over the main human planet, Jay and his officers evaluated the battlefield. They will not give up easily, Jay said. But neither will we. We fight with intelligence and care. They fight with size and pride. That is their weakness. Hana studied maps and readouts, predicting Imperial movements for the next day. We have not yet revealed all our strength. This is only a demonstration, but it is enough to make them question everything. The Empire's armada began to falter. Ships were damaged, engines disabled, and communication disrupted. Imperial officers could not anticipate the humans' movements. Their confidence eroded with every unexpected tactic, every precise strike, and every protected civilian they failed to harm. Fear and doubt grew among their ranks. Admiral Sol, once confident, now questioned his decisions. Could overwhelming numbers truly win against an opponent that fought not with anger, but with intelligence and discipline? Back on the human planet, civilians watched the sky as human fleets moved in defense. Though aware of the danger, they trusted the fleet to protect them. Mara returned to the command ship after a long patrol. Her suit was scorched in places, her ship damaged, but she was alive. She moved among the crews, helping with repairs, giving guidance, and reassuring new pilots. Day coordinated logistics, ensuring supplies, repairs, and reinforcements were always in place. Hana analyzed every move of the Imperial fleet, predicting their next strategies with remarkable accuracy. Che stood quietly on the bridge, observing the horizon. "We do not need to crush them," he said softly. "We only need to survive, protect our people, and demonstrate our resolve. Fear will follow naturally when they realize our discipline, intelligence, and courage are unmatched." Mira nodded, listening nearby. "We are not seeking victory for glory, but for survival. That is what makes us strong, and that is what terrifies them." The Empire sent diplomats as well as soldiers, unsure whether to negotiate or continue the attack. They asked over and over the same question. Was what we faced truly not the full human army? The humans explained that it was only a portion, a warning. They did not seek domination, but they would not allow themselves to be bullied or destroyed. The galaxy began to change its perception of humanity. Humans were not conquerors, nor were they reckless warriors. They fought with intelligence, care, and courage. They adapted, survived, and protected their own, while creating fear in those who underestimated them. The Empire, once confident in its superiority, learned to respect and fear humans. They had not revealed their full strength, but the lesson was clear. Humanity was not to be underestimated. As the night ended and the new day began, humans repaired, trained, and prepared. They did not boast. They did not celebrate excessively. They simply ensured readiness, strategy, and protection for what was to come. The Empire's confidence had been shaken. Humans had shown that intelligence, courage, and coordination could overcome sheer numbers. They had revealed that fear could be instilled not by anger, but by calm and calculated strength. Humanity had not yet shown its full potential, but the message was clear. They were not to be challenged lightly. The Empire's commanders were shaken. Their largest armada had faced unexpected resistance at every turn, and their losses were mounting. Admiral Sol gathered his officers in the command room, their faces pale and strained. "How can this be?" he demanded. "They are only a fraction of humanity's strength, and yet they have forced us to reconsider everything. How much more do they have hidden?" His officers exchanged uneasy glances, none offering a clear answer. Fear had entered the minds of even the most confident. They had always believed that size and firepower could overcome any challenge. Humanity had proven otherwise. In human space, Commander J met quietly with Hana, Mira, and Day. "The Empire has begun to understand that we are not weak," he said. "They fear what they do not know, and they do not know our full strength." Hana nodded. "We will not show them everything. They need to see that humans fight with intelligence, courage, and care. That is enough to make them hesitate, and hesitation can be powerful." Myra, still recovering from her patrols, added, "We protect what is ours, and we strike only when necessary. That balance is what makes us unpredictable." The Empire sent emissaries to negotiate, their tone cautious and their demands uncertain. They asked repeatedly if the fleets humans had engaged were their full army. Humans replied calmly, explaining that it had only been a fraction. They did not boast. They did not threaten. Their words were simple, yet carried a weight that shook the Empire. Humans were prepared to protect their own, and they would not be pushed or bullied. Imperial officers struggled to grasp the concept. Their culture had always relied on overwhelming force, intimidation, and conquest. They had never faced an opponent who combined intelligence, strategy, and compassion in such a way. Humanity did not seek to dominate the galaxy, yet they could not be ignored or underestimated. This realization unsettled every corner of the Empire's command structure. Meanwhile, humans continued their daily routines with a calm focus. Civilians were protected, ships repaired, and training continued. Mira led young pilots through practice maneuvers, teaching them precision and awareness. Day organized logistics, ensuring that supplies and reinforcements were always ready. Hana analyzed potential threats and created contingency plans for multiple scenarios. Jay oversaw the operations, making decisions quietly and with careful thought. They were prepared, but never reckless. Imperial spies reported human activity with confusion. Systems thought to be lightly defended were revealed to be part of coordinated networks of intelligence and defense. The Empire realized that humans were not simply reacting. They were controlling the battlefield, shaping engagements to maximize advantage and minimize loss. Each human action was deliberate, each move calculated. They fought with skill, courage, and unity, yet without arrogance or unnecessary violence. Admiral Sol convened another meeting with his officers. "If this is only part of their strength, what are we truly facing?" he asked. Silence filled the room. For the first time, the Empire's commanders did not have an answer. They had underestimated humanity repeatedly, and each encounter had forced them to rethink assumptions about strategy, intelligence, and power. Humans had survived attacks, protected civilians, and forced even the largest imperial fleets to adapt. On the human planet, Jay addressed his officers one last time before the Empire's temporary withdrawal. We have shown them our capabilities without revealing our full strength. We have protected our people and minimized loss. The Empire will think twice before challenging us again. Remember, we fight not for conquest, but for survival and protection. That is what makes us strong. Hana added, our intelligence, discipline, and courage have already changed the way they view us. We do not need to strike fear through destruction alone. The Empire slowly retreated, sending diplomats and smaller fleets instead of overwhelming armadas. They sought negotiation and clarification, not battle. Their questions were simple. Was what we faced truly not the full human army? Humans answered honestly. It was only a portion, a warning. They would protect their worlds, their people, and each other, but they did not seek to conquer. The Empire was forced to acknowledge the truth. Humans were a species that could not be bullied, crushed, or ignored. Across the galaxy, other civilizations observed these events with growing interest and caution. Tales of human strategy, courage, and intelligence spread quickly. Other species, once dismissive of humanity, began to reconsider. The humans had survived, adapted, and demonstrated that intelligence, discipline, and bravery could rival, and sometimes surpass, overwhelming force. Fear and respect grew simultaneously, creating a new perception of humanity as a formidable and unique power. On the human command ship, Jay walked through the corridors, observing repairs, training, and preparation. Mira and Day were engaged in discussions with younger officers, teaching lessons learned from the battles. Hana analyzed reports and refined strategies. There was no arrogance in their work, only focus and calm determination. Humans had proven that survival, protection, and careful strategy could inspire fear in the most confident adversaries. Jay paused and looked at the stars, thinking about the battles fought and the challenges yet to come. We do not need to show our full strength, he said quietly to Hana, who stood nearby. They fear what they do not know, and that fear is a weapon. We must use it wisely. Hana nodded. We fight not for glory, but for the safety of our people. That is enough to shape the galaxy's view of humanity. Myra joined them, her suit still marked with traces of her recent patrols. They may not understand our way, she said, but they will remember it. Every action, every strategy, every life we protect sends a message. Day added, humanity does not seek domination, but it will not be ignored. That is the lesson they will carry with them. The Empire's retreat marked a turning point. They had underestimated humanity and paid the price. They had seen intelligence, strategy, and courage in action, and recognized that humans did not fight for conquest, but they would fight to survive and protect what was theirs. The galaxy began to shift its understanding of humanity, seeing them as a species that combined bravery, intelligence, and discipline in a way no other had. Humans continued to prepare quietly, aware of their potential, but never boasting. The Empire's fear, respect, and caution were proof of their effectiveness. Humans had changed the perception of themselves across the galaxy without launching a full-scale assault. They had not revealed their full strength, but they had demonstrated enough to alter the course of history. As the stars shimmered above the human worlds, Commander Jay reflected on what had been achieved. The Empire had been challenged, civilizations had noticed, and humanity's name had become synonymous with cleverness, courage, and unyielding protection. They had not sought domination, yet they had inspired respect and fear. Humanity's path was clear: survival, protection, and intelligent strategy. The Empire would never forget that the humans they faced had only been a fraction, and that the true strength of humanity was still largely unseen.